Hi, I'm Chad with Move for Guitar. This lesson is from our series Chords for Beginners. In a previous lesson, I showed you how to play an open G major chord. In this lesson, I'm going to show you another version of an open G major chord. So in a previous lesson, I showed you this version of the G major chord, the open G major chord. In this lesson, I'm going to show you another version, or what's called another voice. And a voicing is just when you have the exact same chord with the same name, same notes, but the notes are played in a different order. And all that means for this chord, this is the first one I showed you, I'm going to, instead of holding my third and fourth finger on the second and first strings on the third fret, I'm going to take off my fourth finger and put my third finger down there on the first string, third fret, and leave the second string open now. So instead of this sound, you'll get this sound. And this is just a little older school G major chord. This one is more common typically, but this one is still a really useful voicing that you'll use probably a lot if you play a lot of songs with open chords. So there's a couple of really useful ways to finger this chord, and I'll show you this way first, and that is your second finger on the sixth string, third fret, and then your first finger down below that towards the floor on the fifth string, second fret, and then your third finger reaches all the way down towards the floor to the first string, third fret. Then you strum through all the strings, and any string that you're not fretting, which is the fourth, third, and second, is just open, which means you're not fretting those notes, you just let those strings ring out open. And if you wanted, you could replace your third finger with your fourth finger if that's more comfortable. Just depends on your hand, the anatomy of your hand, and what's most comfortable to you, but this is the more common way to do it. And make sure that you're on the tips of your fingers, that you have nice arcs here, that you're not bending your fingers back like that. You're on the tips and not blocking any of the other strings. If you hear anything like, you need to go through and adjust your fingers until all the notes can ring out clearly. And make sure that with this chord, all your fingers are up close to the front fret wire without being on top of it. So here's the third fret. My second finger is up here in the fret towards this fret wire. It's not back here. Because any note that you fret on the guitar, you want to get close to the front fret wire without being on top of it. And that's just because if you're close to that fret wire, you have to put a lot less pressure to get the note to ring out clearly. If you're back in the fret, you're going to get buzzing with the same pressure, and you're going to have to put a lot more pressure to stop that buzzing. And then you risk putting your strings out of tune. And that's possible with this chord. You have all your fingers are able to get pretty close to the front fret wire. But some other chords, like the other version of the G major chord, it's not possible with every finger. So the other version, the other voicing, your third finger can't get very close because your fourth finger's in the way. But with this voicing, you can get all your fingers pretty close. So there's another way to hold this chord, to finger this chord, that is really useful depending on the chord changes. And that way is the exact same notes you're fretting, it's just you're going to replace your first, second, and third finger with your second, third, and fourth finger, just like this. So everything stays the same, it's just now your third finger is on the sixth string, third fret, your second finger is on the fifth string, second fret, and your fourth finger is on the first string, third fret. And the reason you would use this way of holding it is because if you're going from this chord to a C major, your hand's right in position to do that easily. Otherwise, you'd be going from, which is a lot bigger movement. So it just depends. You can still do this movement if you can do it quick enough, but a lot of times it's going to be more beneficial to go from here to a C major or some other chords like an A minor 7. So that way you're just not having to move your hand all the way back like that. It's just same, pretty much in the same position, same shape. And with most open chords, you're going to have your thumb up like mine is. It's not going to be down too low. It depends on the anatomy of your hand and shape of your hand, though. So I can't say for sure exactly what your hand will look like, but just make sure your thumb is straight up and down. It's not bent sideways like this. You're probably going to have some space in between most of your hand and the neck and have a nice bend in your wrist. You know, it's not going to be like this. It's going to be down like this. And with mine, for this chord, my hand is touching the neck right there in that part of my hand. And if yours does, just make sure that you're not blocking any strings. With this chord, it doesn't matter that much because you're fretting above that, but other chords it does matter. Like I said, just make sure your thumb is straight up and down, not sideways like this, and that you're on the tips of your fingers and not blocking any other strings. And when you think you have the chord down well, you can strum through. If you hear anything like, you just need to go through, check each string, and adjust until everything rings out clearly. So that's another version, another voicing of the open G major chord. If you'd like to get the diagram for this chord, you can click the link on the screen and it'll take you to an eGuide that you can download for free. And in this eGuide, it has this chord, but it also has a whole bunch of other beginner chords that'll be really useful for you to learn. It just gives you a bunch of options for different chords and different versions of chords, and it'll really expand your knowledge and give you tons of options for playing chords and songs. And along with the chords, I give you a bunch of options for chord progressions. So I take the chords that are in the eGuide, put them together into sequences, and create chord progressions out of them so that you can actually hear them in a more musical situation, and you can learn the chord progressions to see what chords sound good together, and also get ideas for different chord progressions that you can create on your own. That way you won't just learn a whole bunch of random chords and then have no idea how to use them. This will show you musical situations that they can be used in and really expand your knowledge and help you as a beginner. So if you'd like to get that eGuide, just click the link on the screen and you can download that for free.